1, 2. I've got a request for Paddy on the railway. You don't know us, so we're going to do a Chris the Boat song. See if we still remember this. See if you still remember. In 1841, my corduroy riches I put on. My corduroy riches I put on to work upon the railway, the railway. I'm weary of the railway, oh, Paddy works on the railway. I was wearing corduroy breeches, digging ditches, pulling switches, dodging bushes. I was working in the railway. In 1842, from a happy everything good. Found myself in jobs and still working in the railway. I was wearing corduroy breeches, digging ditches, pulling switches, dodging bushes. I was working on the railway. In 1843, I took the shovel across my knee and to work on the company and the kids in Selby Railway. I was wearing corduroy breeches, digging ditches, pulling switches, dodging bushes. I was working on the railway. In 1844, I landed on the Liverpool shore. My belly was empty, me hands were raw from working on the railway, the railway. I'm weary of the railway, oh, Paddy works on the railway. I was wearing corduroy breeches, digging ditches, pulling switches, dodging ditches. I was working on the railway. In 1845, Milo, he was alive. Milo, he was alive and working on the railway. I was wearing corduroy breeches, digging ditches, pulling switches, dodging ditches. I was working on the railway. Working on the railway. In 1847, oh, Paddy was thinking of going to heaven. Oh, Paddy was thinking of going to heaven to work upon the railway, the dark to grey. I'm weary of the railway. There are Paddy works on the railway. I was wearing corduroy breeches, digging ditches, pulling switches, dodging ditches. Was working on the railway. In 1848, I learned to drink my whiskey straight. Learned to drink my whiskey straight, working on the railway. I was wearing corduroy breeches, digging ditches, pulling switches, dodging ditches. I was working on the railway. I was wearing corduroy breeches, digging ditches, pulling switches, dodging ditches. I was working on the railway.
Alright, I'm not going to tell you a joke this time. I'm going to give you basically a little bit I'm going to give you a little spiritual insight, okay? Maybe sometime, maybe not this weekend, but next week or the week after, or whatever, right? You're going to be in a state of mind, maybe, and you're going to be upset. You're going to be angry. You're going to be depressed. You're going to be down. So this little trick will bring you out of this within minutes. I guarantee you. Okay? So whenever the times get really, really tough, there's an antidote for it. And all it is this, that you, in your mind, you just say, I take complete responsibility for this experience. That's where the freedom lies. In that moment, when you, even if you don't understand why you're taking the complete responsibility for this, okay, like Eckhart Tolle says, it's never about the situation. What is it? It's always about your thoughts about the situation. Okay? So the situation is never the problem. The other person is never the problem. It's the problem is your thoughts about the situation or the other person. And that is all you need to correct, is your thoughts. So that brings us to our final speaker for today. I'm really looking forward to this one. I've heard this name, Nick Davis, crop up since 2012. Because every year when we do a conference, I like to basically put it out there and see who would like to hear who. And Nick has cropped up a number of times. He has a lot of loyal supporters here in Ireland. And I wanted to wait till the time was right. And I was really honoured to invite Nick here today because I admire the man, I admire what the man does. Basically, just let me read you this. Nick Davis discovered ACIM in 1984, and after 10 years of study in psychology and science of the mind, he has been teaching the principles of A Course in Miracles ever since. In 1992, he and his lovely wife Anne, take a bow, established the Centre for Inner Peace in Worcestershire. And I think, Nick, you were telling me last night he's just moved a few weeks ago. And all those details will basically be on your website and so on. So, and this was the first miracle centre in the UK. I didn't know that. Wonderful, wonderful. And from this centre, Nick offers regular classes and seminars with himself and a range of guest speakers. He has been a keynote speaker at many ACIM conferences. Nick also operates a thriving private practice through which he offers one-to-one teachings, learning sessions, coaching and counselling. Nick also has a wonderful book. Have you that book with you?
I brought it downstairs.
You haven't brought it downstairs? Oh, okay. You're going to do it. Yeah. So Nick has his book here. It's a wonderful book. It's a call to listen to the Holy Spirit. As A Course in Miracles says, all are called, but few choose to listen. Nick has chosen to listen, and so can you. I have met and listened to Nick in person, and I highly recommend his work. That's from the lovely Gary Renard. So, ladies and gentlemen, I give you Mr. Nick Davis.
Thank you, Michael. And thank you everyone that's inspired us this morning. I think it's been an amazing morning of learning and listening and enjoying the different aspects of the course. I noticed that Michael had put us on the third floor, and I assume that's because we're third level teachers. Yes, so I was right about that.
Yes.
Now, it may not be that I am a third level teacher, but I do listen to a third level teacher, at least a third level teacher, and all of you do as well. Anyone who takes A Course in Miracles or looks at A Course in Miracles is listening to the teacher of teachers. And that makes a kind of oneness, and that's what we're talking about today, is a sense of oneness. We're all agreeable to listening to these teachings that are coming from the teacher of teachers. Now, I like to listen every day, and one of the starting points of my day is to speak to the teacher within myself. And it's something I recommend to everyone to do, that that's the way you start your day. spend a little time in stillness, and you put a question, maybe put a question to your teacher and say, well, I'd like to have this answer today. And so that's what I do, and I did it yesterday in anticipation last evening. What would you like me to talk about at the conference tomorrow at the top of the page? I would like you to practice the lesson of the day. Salvation is my only function here. The focus of the weekend is oneness. This lesson is for everyone. And when everyone accepts this as their function, then quite obviously one mindfulness has been achieved and the world of sin will be gone because its illusory nature will have been seen. Salvation is the recognition that the world of sin, sickness, suffering, lack, loss, limitation, disease, disaster, and death is not the will of God. It has nothing to do with life, love, and light, and is simply an imagination. Images stemming from your own thinking that have been reasoned from the false premise that you are separate from God. Salvation is an agreement to have these thoughts undone in your mind. The acceptance of the atonement, the undoing of the belief in sin, which is where all illusions stem from. A holy relationship is an agreement where two or more are willing to have their thoughts undone. Once you know you're not a body, but spirit, then your mind will be used to choose again. This thought I do not want. I choose instead the thought that God has given me. May I remind you once again that if Christ appeared to you in all his glory, asking you but this, choose once again if you would take your place among the saviours of the world, or would remain in hell and hold your brothers there. For he has come, and he is asking this. That's a quote from chapter 31 of the text, where it asks us to choose again. Now I believe that that's where our oneness always lies. It lies in that thought that we can choose again. It's the beginning of the course, in fact, where Bill and Helen are talking, and they're discussing obviously what's wrong with their lives and so on. And Bill turns to Helen and says, there's got to be a better way. And in that moment, Helen agrees with Bill and says, I agree, let's find it. Now that's a moment of oneness. It's very rare that ever happens, you know. It's very rare that two people are totally agreeable in a moment. It may be the first time that it happened for thousands of years that two people were in total agreement. Have you noticed that? How rare that is in relationship where you totally agree on something. Well, the point of oneness is when we totally agree on something. As a group, we totally agree on something. So would you like to change your mind? You're here. You're doing a Course of Miracles. You're listening to this talk. You want to change your mind. You're in oneness with the will of God. You're in oneness with each other. So I always like to start my talk with a prayer. And so will you join with me in a prayer at this moment? You'd like to close your eyes. Today we recognize that we have joined here with the purpose of experiencing oneness. We do not understand what that means in terms of thought, in terms of any intellectual understanding. we do not know what that means. But today, together, we are willing to be taught. We are willing to open our minds to receive the truth. We are willing to receive the idea that we are surrounded right now by the love of God. We are willing to be open to know that we are immersed in that love, and that love is in us. We are willing to open our hearts to experience that now. And our agreement is expressed by our going into the silence and opening the door within our minds. God knows his way into our hearts. We need do nothing now. The door is open. He will come. And when he comes to us, we will know without any doubts that we are one, that we're safe, and that truly all is well. Amen. Okay. Somebody informed me the other day that the best teaching I did was when we had the silence. And that would be about right. It's really the purpose of a teacher, the purpose of a facilitator, to bring each one of us into that presence, to experience it firsthand. It has to be the healing of our minds, that we have a first-hand experience. And so, very interestingly, we started our day with wake up, isn't it? Wake up. And probably every one of us had a degree of awakening. We couldn't be here without a wake-up call that gets us to come searching. But there's a little saying that after the ecstasy of waking up, the laundry. Have you heard that? After the ecstasy, the laundry. After we experience the light for the first time, the work begins, the undoing starts. Because it's quite a realization that when we experience love for the first time, that we've actually lived in fear pretty much all our lives. And that's exactly what happened to me. It was quite a moment, quite unexpected moment, really, because I was thinking that when I had a kind of revelation, it would be really rather nice and pretty and beautiful, and I'd see everything in a lovely way. The awakening and the revelation for me was that I'd spent every single day of my life in fear. every single moment of my life in fear. Now that's not that I ever said that to anyone. In fact, I said to people I loved them and that I was feeling very happy and things like that. But when an experience of the exact opposite of fear takes place, we realise the enormity of what we've been in. We realise how much we've been in the dark. And it's only when the light goes on that we see how much we've been in the dark. It's very interesting when you're in the dark, you think you can get around all right, you trip over things here, there and everywhere, and you walk around, and you can get quite used to it. You know how blind people get quite used to living in the dark. They have a stick and they feel around and know where everything is, and you learn where everything is. And that's kind of what we do in this world. We train ourselves to be able to live in the dark and think that we actually see things. So when the light goes on, it's a real revelation, because what we thought was there when we were in the dark isn't there at all. And the world is a very different place. And there's a complete clarity about it. So in that moment, suddenly we see what has to be undone. Suddenly we see the enormity of the task. And the miracles explains that and points out something that I absolutely love about the course. One of the things I did here is that many people have great difficulty with the course, and they have this kind of love-hate relationship. The first time I came across the books, I liked them. I really liked them. The first thing about them was that they were these beautiful hardback copies. I don't know if you remember, some of you may remember, they were in 3 volumes, 3 beautiful bound volumes, and they were beautiful books in themselves. I like beautiful books. And then I opened them up, and I liked what I read about it, these beautiful words. So I've had an immediate falling in love with the course, and it's been a love affair for me. But I suppose part of that reason for that is because I go back quite a long way prior to the course in my search for light and the truth. And I was a searcher in my late teens when I got to that point of dissatisfaction in the world. You know the song that was in the late 1960s, some of you will remember it? I can't get no satisfaction. You know, Rolling Stones.
Mick.
I used to dance around. I won't dance quite like Mick Jagger at the moment. Later on, I promise I can do that for you. But Mick Jagger was singing, I can't get no satisfaction. And that just about summed up my life. By 19, I'd tried everything that there was. I knew absolutely everything, like most teenagers do. My son knows everything at the moment, and so on. And probably you've got children that know absolutely everything too. I was one that knew everything, and I could get no satisfaction. And I remember being awake one night, and I thought, I don't know what I'm doing here. I don't know what the purpose of this life is. I don't know what it's for. But there's got to be something here. And a little tiny experience happened that is so significant. You know, little tiny things can be really, really important in our lives. A lot of times we overlook the simplicity of truth because we're looking for great big things, overwhelming experiences, ecstasy, all these things. But there are some very, very simple things that can happen. And what happened was I was lying in bed, 3 in the morning as usual, thinking I can't get no satisfaction. And the curtains on the bedroom just moved a little bit. And I thought, now what makes the curtains move? Well, that's probably a draft and the wind blows outside. But where does the wind come from? Well, that's high pressure and low pressure. That's all about weather systems and so on. And where does the weather come from? Well, it's the movement of the Earth and the movement of the planet. But where does the movement of the planet come from? Well, that's in relation to its state in the solar system. But where does the solar system come from? Well, that comes from the place of the universe. And I kept asking these questions in my mind. Where did it all come from? And the one thought that I was left with was, there's something behind this. and I want to know what it is. There's something behind it. And the very next night, I was down the pub having a pint of beer or whatever, and I was talking to a friend, and he said, I was talking to him and I said, this question had come into mind, what really is behind everything there is? And he said, there's a book I'm reading, and I suggest you might like it. It's called Psycho-Cybernetics by Maxwell Maltz. You're not here, you know that one? Very nice though. Not that many people who have tried it. But inside this book, it said, all your questions are answered in your own mind. Everything is in the mind. And that's the only place you can search for the answers. It has to be through understanding the mind. And that started me on the journey of searching for the answers. It led me into the science of mind, and it led me into working with a teacher right through to the 1980s until she retired. Simple message to me, or her first simple message to me was, Nick, truth is an unfolding revelation. Truth is an unfolding revelation. You make a journey, and as that journey the truth is revealed to you, you move in a direction. So interesting, we were talking about change, the ability to move from one table to another table, the ability to move on. As we move, there's an unfolding revelation in the mind. So this is one of the messages I got from my teacher. The other message she gave me, and it started in the very first evening that I attended her talks, she said a very simple thing, and that was, if you change your thinking, you will change your life. Now that is as true today as it was 30 years ago or 40 years ago when I first heard it. Change your thinking and you change your life. That will be the same for us, however old we get, however wise we may be, that will be the point at which something will happen. Change your thinking, change your life.